This podcast is a product of the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals. Nothing in this podcast should be considered legal advice. To find a collaborative professional near you, visit www.collaborativepracticeflorida.com. I'm Catherine Eaton. I'm a member of the Florida Academy of Collaborative Professionals, and today's guest is Julie Savitz. Julie is a divorce coach. She helps women navigate the chaos of divorce and come out healthier and stronger on the other side. She takes real life experience and no nonsense support and guides clients through the emotional, logistical, and personal changes of separation so they can rebuild with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Her mission is to help women stop just surviving and start thriving. So, Julie, thank you for being on our podcast today. I always start the segment off with saying, how did you learn about the collaborative process? Everyone has a story as to how they first learned about it. So how did you learn about it?
Right. Thank you. And thank you for having me on, Catherine. Um, I, I learned about very recently, actually, I learned about the collaborative process. I was very familiar with family law, but the collaborative process came to me because a good friend of mine went through the process. And as a divorce coach, I became a divorce coach about 18 months ago. I started to get calls from collaborative attorneys who wanted to bring me onto their team, which seemed so amazing to have this amazing team of people that you have a divorce coach and you have a mediator and you have your attorneys actually getting along with the goal of not going to court, which was sounded so amazing. And I kind of imagine it, Catherine, as you're on this ship, right? And everyone has their job, right? It's not just one person or people fighting, it's someone has the sail and your financial advisors taking you to the next spot. So I got really interested in it and started to join groups and started to work with collaborative attorneys. And I really found that their mindset was so much different about the divorce process. And since I help women through the process and predominantly after, I have a happier client, I have a healthier client, and the process isn't so icky through the collaborative process.
I appreciate that, and I agree with what you said. So now let's talk about what is a divorce coach? I said what your mission is, your goal is, but explain to people listening, what is a divorce coach and what do you do on that ship?
Okay, yes. I go like this. No, I'm actually in my sailor shirt, so it's totally appropriate. I am the person that comes in. I'm not an attorney. I've been through divorce myself. I don't even pretend to. I am there as a guide for men or women. I work with both, to bridge that gap between legal representation and emotional well-being. So my attorneys have a happier person in front of them. I sometimes do role playing with a spouse before we get to the mediation part. I'm dealing with the feelings, and there's a lot of feelings even behind the settlement agreement and not being treated fairly. And this, narcissism is a new thing that we're going through. So I help the individual work on the emotional part because a lot of attorneys are not trained and a lot of attorneys are not schooled in that kind of emotional well-being, having someone healthier and happier, understanding the process, walking them through. And where I really shine is after. Where are we going to go now? You had to sell your house. We're going to look for new real estate. And there's a lot of emotion with selling your house. Divorce and moving are the two biggest stressors, Catherine. So, and then you have to actually get divorced and explain it to your children. I'm also a child advocate. So I do speak with the whole family sometimes because the children a lot get left behind. So the pieces that are kind of left behind, I come in and pick up with
So
therapy.
just so I understand, so when the parties reach an agreement, it's paper, it's on writing. Okay, we reached this agreement, and you're right. The client sometimes will say, "Okay, we've agreed to these dollars. We've agreed the house is getting sold. We've agreed to this parenting plan. We've agreed to all these things." But then it's very emotional.
Very.
And then you have to effectuate it. And you have this whole list of to-dos that you're supposed to get done. And there's usually a timeline. In 5 days, you do this. In 10 days, you do that. In 30 days, you do this. In 60 days, you better qualify for a mortgage, all these different things. So are you the person who, you know, helps calendar and helps guide that person to make sure all those to-dos are getting done? Is that a good
That is a part of it, Catherine. I
Okay.
usually the mediator or the facilitator more so takes that job. I am
Okay.
just the feeling behind it. Like, oh my gosh, I need to sell my house, or oh my goodness, what is it going to look like for me to have my children half of the time? Or let's talk about what Christmas is going to look like this year. And it's my first Christmas alone. And we talk about what that could actually more feels like. So it's more of the emotional side of what's happening as opposed to the legal stuff. I could walk people through a settlement agreement and I could make sure that they are being treated fairly. But for me, it's more the feelings behind it.
Okay. Well, I have been to CLEs where I was taught that if you're in that emotional headspace, that you're unable to make those logical financial decisions. And when I get a client who's telling me about their divorce situation and they're crying because it's so emotional, it's difficult for me as an attorney because one, I know they're not absorbing all the legalese that I'm spewing at them.
It's a
And
lot.
when I'm asking them questions like, well, do you want to try and stay in the house or sell the house? They're unable to answer because it's so emotional. So then you're the person to send them to say, you need to deal with those emotions so you can start making decisions. Is that a better description of how you?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Because there's a lot going on, and you cannot explain divorce unless you've been through it. And like you said, there are timelines, and people want to make sure they're making sound decisions because now you have a legal document that you need to adhere to for the rest of your life. So it's me kind of explaining to them what would be the best for them emotionally. So yes, it is. I come in and sitting in front of you, Catherine, is a healthier, happier, more well-rounded, versed client on either side, whether it be the man or the women. Sometimes I speak to couples too about communication after divorce or communication through the process, or we know we have this big mediation. We're going to be spending all of this money for a couple of hours. This is what it's going to look like. We do sometimes role playing as to what that day is going to look like and feel like and the go between. So, yes, I hope that answered your question.
It does answer my question. So thank you. You're the first divorce coach that we've had on the podcast. So I have, so that's
It's
why I have
always
questions.
something, Catherine, that people say that they wish they had during their divorce. So it's kind of a lot of hand holding and it's really scary. I mean, I've been through divorce myself and it's a scary process. So to have someone to explain to you it's going to be okay, to kind of be your cheerleader on the back end, to have that kind of extra layer of divorce, which makes the collaborative process so amazing.
Right.
To have all these kind of people on your team, or it should certainly feel that way.
So you talked about role playing. What other techniques or what other things can you do? Let's um, unwrap it, open it up, look at what does a divorce coach do for a person. So give a little more example or samples of some of the things that you do with your clients to help them through this emotional time.
Okay, yes, good. Thank you. That's a great question. So I do a lot of, believe it or not, breathing techniques. Like we stop and we breathe and we kind of focus our thoughts because there's so much going on. As a man or a woman, you still need to be a father. You still need to be a mother. You still need to act happy, right? And go about your job and go about your life. So kind of centering in on what is exactly happening at that moment. I do a lot of goal sheets. What is our goal, long term and short term goals? What is our goal? And a lot of times it's they need to get their financial affidavit together, and I could sit and work on it with them. A lot of people, there's such a bad feeling around it, especially for someone that's been kept out. And a lot of times it's the woman that's been kind of kept out of the loop on finances to even gather that information. A lot of people don't even know where to go for these.
Yes.
It's really scary, and we sit and we talk and we spend time on the computer, and it's a lot of times it's a wake up call, both sides. A lot of people are not in exactly a financial position where they thought they would be, right? Because they were living in a big house and they were kept out of the finances and they think they're going to keep their house. So we kind of go line by line through what is here and we come up with a budget now that you are not with your spouse. And it's really scary. And I'm kind of there like we can do it. You might need to go get a job. I've helped people do job searching with men and women both that do need to work that hadn't worked before, need to pick up an extra job. So I do a lot of that goal setting, goal building, a lot of the role playing is I'm here with you, Catherine, right? I might have been nervous about sitting here with you. This is what it's going to feel like. We're going to wait. The facilitator is going to do this. Take away kind of the not knowing before that big mediation day because our goal is to settle. And everyone's goal is to be happy at the end. And the truth is sometimes you're not happy, but that's the reality. And it is what it is. And we're going to move forward from there.
Yeah, when people are so emotional, they really do get stuck. And you touched on something at the very beginning about helping people to even gather those documents that because if you're unknowing about your finances, where do you even go? And what I've found recently, and tell me if you found this with your clients, people are so dependent upon their smartphones, right?
Yes.
A lot of people don't have laptops anymore. I mean, you have laptops at work, or maybe your child has a laptop for school, but it used to be before smartphones, everyone had some computer or laptop at home. But I find more and more people are so just using their cell phones. So when you ask them to provide bank statements or tax returns, um, getting it on a cell phone can be really tricky, or they don't even know, you know, that's a whole other quagmire, I guess you would say.
It is. And people really give up, Catherine. They're like,
Wow.
F it, I'm not going to do it. I don't even know where to start. So I have literally a line by line because it is kind of old school to have to fill out a paper anymore. We are so reliant on our phones. And it's coming from a lot of different places. I have a client right now. She had no idea how much her budget was. She had no idea what the intake was. She had no idea. Her husband used to tell her, "Well, go ask my cousin if something happens to me. He's in charge of the finances."
Oh.
Happens a lot. A lot of women are kept out of what is there and what is not.
And then you were talking about, so once the agreement is reached, there's still a lot of emotions as to, as I first said, effectuating, but as I'm thinking this through, you know, then they've got to financially separate and they have to start off being on their own. So how does that, how do you help somebody, you know, be independent from, you know, their finances to, you know, they can't go ask the cousin anymore.
Yeah, it's scary, but we talk facts. Your money is here. This is what a lot of times I meet with my clients and a financial advisor, right? Some people like to save, some people like to spend, some people like to give. So it is very much a lot of people don't know what their budget is, Catherine. They don't know. A lot of people have been on an allowance. I hear the word a lot with my women clients. They've had an allowance for the week and they're very kept out of the loop. And they don't even know how much in real estate is in their area to rent or renter's insurance. Or I have clients, they don't know where the passports are for their children. There's a lot of loose end. Yes, yes. I've even gone with clients because moving is a big, very, very, very difficult for people in general. I've gone to clients' homes and we do a maybe pile and a yes pile and a no pile. Like these are the things we're going to take. It's kind of nice to have someone like me there. And it sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to give away all the furniture, but I want this coaster. I'm like, okay, this coaster means a lot to you. Let's talk about that. And let's talk about starting new. And let's talk about here we are moving forward. Kind of a roadmap, Catherine, after all the mishigas of the divorce. Because life goes on. You still need to be a parent. You still need to. I talk dating a lot with my clients, which is always fun. Kind
Oh,
of
I didn't
moving
even,
on.
oh, yeah, next
That's
step.
another show, Catherine. That's another show because that is interesting, funny
When to
topic.
start dating, especially if you have children. I mean, that is a whole other topic. And then one topic that has come up recently, and my clients always ask, but I don't really know the answer, and maybe because it's so emotional, is when and how do you tell the children? So I know that some facilitators and who are helping with parenting plans, they've helped the parties decide or give some ideas, but that would seem that that would be very emotional to tell the children. And I've also found that some people have already separated, they're living separately, but they haven't told the children. And I'm like, I'm not quite sure how that, because apparently it's such an emotional uh, burden, I guess, to a person to have to say it out loud. So, any tips as to how you're gonna, how you communicate these things with your children when you're so emotional yourself?
That's a great question. It is. It's a very difficult conversation to have, especially for someone that has been cheated on or there's a narcissist in there. It is very much like the most difficult situation. But I will tell you, and this is what I tell my clients, your children know you're not happy. A lot of children living in these homes where the parents have been sleeping in different rooms, or one parent leaves the house, like you spoke about, and they come back. I see the earlier on you can have this conversation with your children, the best. Because they're listening to you in the back of the car. You think their earbuds are on talking about technology. They are hearing you calling your spouse names, or they hear you talking to your mother about what's happening. And kids are, even little ones, they're they're much smarter than we give them credit for. So the honesty is always the best way to go. And depending on their age, sometimes, and children will ask you what they want to know. Usually younger children just, you know, daddy and I haven't been getting along. It's our relationship's going to look a little bit different, whatever it is for that situation. And older teens, even I have families with children in their low 20s. It's difficult at any age. The conversation changes with age, but your children will ask you questions. It's being open to asking questions. And even if you're not getting along, kind of for that conversation, being open to sitting and again, communication, you're always going to be family with this person. So it's good practice for weddings and bar mitzvahs or things moving on. It's great. And a lot of times communication is the reason couples end up divorcing. They don't know how to. So we actually talk communication skills before parents have that meeting. Very difficult conversation to have.
I know. And since you mentioned at the beginning that you're a child advocate, that's why I pinged you with that question as to, okay, so let's mesh your child advocacy skills with your coaching skills. And I
Yes.
figured you'd have some answers for us as to how to how to handle that.
Yes, I was a middle school guidance counselor, Catherine, for 20 years. So that gets me ready for anything in life. I can do anything if I could do that. And it is, even with the technology, Catherine, if you don't mind me elaborating, it's very hard to be a teenager. There's filters on the pictures, and there's less stigma now I see between parents getting divorced. When I first started coaching, there was a little bit more of a stigma. You didn't want your parents divorced, and it was now a lot of people know people that are divorced. So there's less of a stigma behind it, but it's very difficult for a teenager or an 8-year-old to have two homes. It's really hard to do. You're
Yeah,
packing
I
up and
And let's just touch on that for a minute, Julie, because now there's this presumption that the time sharing is going to be equal. I
Right,
mean, I've been practicing for over 25 years now. So when it used to be, the children or child would stay with one parent the majority of the time, and the other parent would get every other weekend. And then it was every other weekend and Wednesday night. Then it was
right.
every other weekend and Thursday night. So it would go Thursday to Monday. And then now it's to this presumption of equal. So it's great for the parents,
Right.
but it seems to me it would be hard on the child going back and forth, like you just said. So, what is your coaching tip or experience as a coach and a child advocate? How do you help your clients and the children with all that back and forth?
Yeah. What we schedule everything. Every family I work with has a schedule big in their house. I'm seeing a lot, Catherine, week on, week off lately, the last
Yeah.
maybe 6, 7 months. So there's less movement for the children, which is always better, depending on people's situations. But we always have a schedule. We have a list of things that are to be at both houses, right?
Ah,
There
yeah.
is clothes, enough clothes in one house and enough clothes at the other house. So that is super important. Toiletries, I have a lot of parents with teenage girls, and it is their makeup and their toiletries. Having two sets, so your children don't need to keep saying, I left something at mom's or I left something at dad's, and having a space of their own in both houses, having a space of their own in both homes that they get to choose. They get to make the room their own, or they get to make the space their own. And their kids, their friends start coming over quickly and they start incorporating their new life. It's not better, worse, but it's that this is your new life and there's going to be movement and there's going to be this is how we're going to handle it. But the scheduling is, Catherine, very, very, for the parents too. Children like to know what is coming up. And with after school activities, it's so important.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so now tell me,
Yes.
how can somebody find you? So
Okay.
whether they're going through a collaborative divorce or they're just starting the divorce process, how can they find you and they think, you know what? I heard Julie on the podcast and I want a divorce coach. So how do they find you?
Awesome. So I am on Facebook, actually. I usually send out, and I'll send it to you, Catherine, a virtual card.
Okay.
Um, and maybe we could put in the comments somewhere. I'm Julie Cooper Savitz on Facebook, and I'm always putting blogs and I'm always putting articles. I have a Facebook community where I invite people to once I've met you. And I also do a free consultation, Catherine, to see if it's a good fit. I will send you the link for that too. And
Okay.
just to peruse and see me. And I love helping people. It was really a missing link in a lot of the teams because it's always a community, and we are a community of women and men in the divorce realm that really just want to empower our clients. So I have tools and the lawyers have tools and the mediators have tools. And after the divorce, it's really so nice. I get often, thank you so much. Thank you for helping me through, to kind of have that cheerleader through. So that's how you can get me.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for being on today's FACP podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine.